Big takeaway from these numbers?
I mean, I think when we look back, what we saw was a decline in revenue for a handful of quarters at Apple, which seems sort of amazing. And we still see an increase in revenue on a year-over-year basis, both last quarter and the quarter just announced here, it looks like. I'm still pulling up my numbers here. But you know, that's sort of, you know, as we get towards a new iPhone launch in the fall, there's great concern that as information about that comes out, that consumers will slow down their sales. And what we see is it's happened a little bit, but not as much as we have.
Howard, slight misses, slight decline in the stocks, but still, this company is an absolute juggernaut, outperforming once again. Does this change the story at all?
No, I mean, I was on the stream on StockTwits today selling a little bit. I've owned it forever. It's had an amazing run. If you look back 3-4 years, it was fired Tim Cook. If you look at Google Trends, the stock bottomed at like in the 90s at the fired Tim Cook peaked on Google Trends. And today, fired Tim Cook hit all-time lows on Google Trends. So again, it's had a great run. It's a humongous company, and they're too big to stop. So they're too big to stop. You know, $1 or $2 at this thing doesn't matter. What does matter is I am not CEO of StockTwits. Ian will kill me. So, and you know Ian Rose. Ian,
we'll correct your title.
And so when you're looking at these numbers, I'm also seeing gross margin between 37.5% and 38.5%. Cory, traditionally, one of the attractive things about Apple has been the relatively high gross margin. Is that story changing at all?
I think what's interesting is the business moves towards services, and services is still a very small part of the business. But Tim Cook has announced the future of this company is going to be in services. It's going to be, whether it's going to be Apple Music, or it's going to be more storage for your videos in your phone, or it's going to be their streaming services. That's an increasing focus of them, and that's going to change the margin structure here. And we don't really know how that's going to change the margin structure here. If you think about it in a lot of ways, a company like Apple, or a company like Google, or a company like Microsoft, or a company like Amazon has a very similar physical structure in that they run data centers all over the world. They lay their own fiber, even increasingly crossing oceans to move traffic around. So they're able to get into similar businesses. And I think that, you know, Apple's very much aware that for them to have consistent growth going forward, they just have explored smartphones as large as they can, that computer sales, iPad sales, or tablet sales, I should say, phone sales, all much longer replacement cycle. And so they're going to need to have something else.
Services, margins will only get better. I think Apple's missed out on being Apple Bank. You know, the app. I don't still use Apple Pay, but I know a lot of people do. But there's 90 million phones out there. Not enough people are using Apple Pay. PayPal at all-time highs, Square at all-time highs. Apple should be in this business. Apple as a service should be a bank and should be a lender. Maybe not a lender, but
should I buy one of those?
I mean,
it's not their style.
It's not their style,
right.
And it would be bigger than anything they've done. So they're not going to buy it. They've talked about doing this deal with the banks. The banks seem unhappy, but Apple's got they're countries. So these countries are. I mean, Apple's a planet. Right. It's so they have to try this stuff themselves. I think some company's going to go out there besides Facebook and make one of these acquisitions that makes people's heads spin. But right now, it's only been Facebook taking those kind of bets, and some of the Chinese companies. One day, Apple will make a bet. It's not now.
Apple is a planet. Is that bigger than the ecosystem of Apple? I love that we're scaling up here.
There's many companies that are planets. The ones that do everything themselves, as he said, Amazon, too big to stop.
Well, and this is the thing, what topic we've discussed in the past, is that these the big winners in technology are not 2 or 3 times bigger than the number 2. They're 10 times bigger.
Exactly.
And you see that in search with Google, and you see that in chips with Intel, and you see that with manufacturing of smartphones in Apple.
Yeah.
What we can't miss, though, here is that Apple stock is trading at a record high. And in the interim, while we're waiting for whatever they can come up with to boost their product forward, to expand the universe, we've gone bigger, the universe now, they're still putting cash out to shareholders.
Yes.
What do you think of the dividend raise, 10.5%? I've seen people saying, hey, look, we've got enough room here, given the cash that they've got on the balance sheet, to make this more like 15, 20% in terms of the dividend. Is this enough? Like, what's the disappointment here? Is it the numbers?
It's a pretty weak dividend for a company that generates this much cash.
It is.
But I think you can't overestimate the nuclear winter that this company once went through, and that all technology companies go through, have seen the ups and downs. And so there's a recognition that things could get really bad really fast because they've seen it before.
So better to buy back your shares than pump money out in terms of dividends?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. And I think, like, if you look at the startup world, and that's where I focus, is we joked about Bitcoin for, I don't know, 5 years. We're still joking about it. No one's heard of Ethereum. ICOs are happening. The world is changing. And so Apple, based on the nuclear winter, or a secret message that Steve Jobs might have left for Tim Cook, I don't think I think storing cash is not a bad thing. When does cash become a problem? And especially, why pay taxes on something and give it away to people who are going to piss it away versus Apple has a history of doing well with their cash.
I want to bring in another number here, $2.9 billion for other products. This is categories that include the Apple Watch, Apple TV. You know, none of these other devices has.
Don't forget the AirPods.
The
And the AirPods, right?
I mean,
and I see more and more people wearing them.
That's going to be. Gene Munster's
look
out there saying that that's going to be bigger than the Apple Watch.
Really?
I think it's something worth watching.
I think it's the biggest. I think
Pun
voice
intended.
is the biggest next platform. So I think the AirPods, though I don't have them, I think they're back to being classic Apple. The only thing I question about AirPods is, like, everybody says good things about them, and yet as an Apple fanatic, I haven't gotten my pair yet.
Are they in danger of losing some of this connected home stuff to Amazon? People really
Well, they already
like their
have.
Alexas.
They lost
Is that over? Is that
I
game
think
I
over?
don't know if it's over, but they're clearly way behind in that.
Clearly way
Siri's
behind.
not doing as well in all the reviews in the Google Play device. Or
I've never seen a person in Siri, except people that I don't want to talk to. Like, anybody I see use Siri is
You're
someone.
kind of a little on the snobby side
No,
of the
no one
scale.
here uses Siri. Do you use Siri?
No. My kids use it for fun. That's
It's
about
torture.
it. People use